I'll give the floor to His Excellency Lord Goldsmith, Minister of State for Overseas Territories, Commonwealth, Energy, Climate and Environment of the United Kingdom. Sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the organizers of the UN Water Conference. Your Excellencies, it is a real pleasure to say a few words on behalf of the United Kingdom. It's almost impossible to exaggerate the importance of the subject we're here to discuss, water, for sanitation and hygiene, for the ecosystems on which food security relies, for all life on Earth. Yet for 700 million people, that's around 1 in 10 of us, water scarcity is a daily reality. 4.3 billion people struggle for at least 1 month per year. And around half the world's population experience extreme water scarcity for at least some part of the year. And in 4 out of 5 households facing shortages, the burden falls on women and girls, with a devastating impact on everything from education to safety. And then when you add to that sea level rise, or the acute vulnerability of small islands and coastal communities, ever more rapidly disappearing glaciers, rainforests and wetlands that underpin global climate and weather systems. And you don't need to be an expert to understand that these figures and the associated costs, hundreds of millions every year, as well as lives lost, will simply mushroom out of all control. Now, we know that one of the most important things we can do is to keep warming within 1.5 degrees by making deep cuts to emissions right across all sectors, and that includes the water sector. And when we come together for COP28 in the UAE, there will be a global stocktake, and I encourage everyone to use the water tracker ahead of that stocktake so that we can share our collective experiences and help more countries integrate water into more ambitious national climate plans. Now, for our part, in the UK, we're getting our house in order, but with around half of Europe's water footprint falling overseas, and quite often on some of the most fragile, important habitats in the world and some of the poorest and most vulnerable people in the world, we obviously need to consider the impact of our supply chains well beyond our own borders. So I urge all of you to join the 28 signatories from governments, business, civil society that have now endorsed the Fair Water Footprints Declaration that we first launched in Glasgow at COP26. Together, we now represent 185 million people and more than $5.1 trillion and counting. And we're committed to raising ambition and catalyzing a decade of action for zero water pollution, sustainable water use and fair access, and to protect and restore those natural systems for which there can be no technological substitute and which provide the water that sustains us all. But it also means getting serious about shifting the hundreds of billions of dollars of public money the world currently spends on energy, fishing, or land use subsidies, away from destruction and towards renewal. And this is something that only governments can do, as well as writing the rules such that the whole market recognizes the true value of natural systems and the true cost of environmental destruction. And that's how we'll get trillions of dollars flowing in the right direction. And that is exactly what the Resilient Water Accelerator is designed to help do. And I do encourage everyone to join us. Yesterday, I was delighted to announce that the UK is launching a new program to support the efforts of governments in up to 5 developing countries in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia to help strengthen national systems and draw in the wider investment we know we need to make sure more people have access to more reliable, resilient water, sanitation, and hygiene services. Now, the final thing I wanted to say is simply that we all recognize none of this is particularly easy, but equally it is unavoidable, and we need leaders everywhere to step up and lead across governments, businesses, the whole of society. We can make, if we choose to, this decade the decade where we finally turn the tide. Thank you so much.
I thank the Minister of State for Overseas Territories, Commonwealth, Energy, Climate and Environment of the United Kingdom for his statement.